Agree. All right, it is 5:30 p.m. and I now call to order the Grand Island Public Schools Board of Education meeting. This is the January 9th, 2020 meeting. Notice of this meeting has been advertised in the Grand Island Independent, which is the district's designated method of giving notice of these meetings. We want those in attendance to know that copies of the Open Meetings Act are available at the entrance to the boardroom. If anyone in attendance is interested in addressing our board, you are welcome to do so. We simply request that you complete the appropriate form and turn it into us now so that you may be recognized during the public forum part of our meeting. These forms are also located by the entry doors of this room. Ms. Sargent, will you please call the roll?
Lisa Albers. Present. Carlos Barcenas.
Present.
Dan Braz.
Present.
Terry Brown.
Present.
Kelly Inc.
Present.
Julie Gordmaker.
Present.
Bonnie Hinkle.
Present.
Heidi Schutz.
Here.
Erica Wolf.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Our agenda item 3 is the mission statement. Mrs. Inc., will you please read that for us?
Certainly. Every student, every day a success. In educating students, we teach hearts as well as minds. Within the school district of Grand Island, every student will be taught to read, write, and communicate effectively, solve problems, acquire and apply knowledge, and demonstrate mastery through performance to the best of the student's abilities. Every student will be treated with fairness and dignity. Every student will be honored for their unique qualities and backgrounds. Every student will experience a sense of belonging, contribution, and success. And every student will develop responsibility and show respect for others as well as oneself.
Thank you. Agenda item 4 is the public forum portion of our meeting. I've not received any forms from anyone. Is there anybody in attendance that wanted to speak? No? Okay. Whoops, sorry. So then we will move to agenda item 5, which is the consent agenda. Number 1, or 5.1 is the minutes from the previous month's meeting on December 12th, 2019. 5.2 are claims as submitted. 5.3 are the staff adjustments as submitted. 5.4 are the treasurer's report as submitted. 5.5 are the policies, including 5.1, which is 8411 reimbursement for lost or damaged items on final read. 5.2, 8451 physical restraint and seclusion, delete on final read. 8460 interrogation and searches, delete on final read. 8640 student interviews on final read. 8461 searches, seizures, and arrest on final read. 8420 student due process rights on first read. 8520 student bicycle use on first read. 8531 eye protective devices on first read. 5.9, sorry, just a minute, is 8540 student insurance program delete on first read. 5.6 is the grant report update, January 2020. 7 is Jefferson change order 005, and 8 is the approval of the agenda as submitted. This is the consent agenda as published. Would anyone like to remove any items or add any items to the consent agenda? And I do know that there's several of us that have conflicts of interest, so out of the abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and abstain from voting on checks. And I will say my check numbers, and then each board member can say theirs as well. 69474, 69618, 69624 as part of agenda item 5.2 for this meeting. Mr. Brown.
I have numbered 69618 and 69624.
Ms. Wolf.
I also have numbers 69618 and 69624.
Mr.
I
Barcenas.
have numbers 69618, 69717.
Mrs. Inc.
69618 and 69624.
And Mrs. Gordemaker.
69618 and 69624.
All right. Dr. Bros.
I also have 69618 and check number 69624.
All right. I would need a recommendation to approve the consent agenda. Dr. Bros?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second? Second, Mr. Brown. Please vote. All right, thank you. Agenda item 6 is the change of the board. Since this is January 1st, we go through this procedure each year. So 6.1, sorry about that. A motion is necessary to adjourn the Board of Education for 2019 and appoint Robin Dexter, Secretary of the Board, as acting chairman to call the 2020 Board of Education to order and preside during the election of the 2020 President of the Board of Education. Dr. Bros.
I move that we adjourn the 2019 Board of Education and appoint Robin Dexter, Secretary of the Board, as acting chairman to call the 2020 Board of Education to order and to preside during the election of the 2020 President of the Board of Education.
And is there a second? Second, Mr. Brown. Please vote. Oh, I'm sorry. It was Mr. Barsonis that seconded that. Sorry. Thank you.
All right, we will start off the 2020 year with review of the board operating principles. And the board operating principles are at each of the board members' places. And I'll just do a real quick summary of those, and then each board member will need to sign them. And if you'll lay them up on your front of your spot at your place, I will pick them up. So the board operating principles, the board developed these several years ago, and we update them as needed, but it really spells out the responsibilities of the board to the public and to each other. So the first one is an educational advocate. It talks about the meeting format. It spells out the Board of Education committees. It talks about small group meetings with the superintendent and board members. It spells out the strategic planning process, the implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of the strategic planning process. It spells out the roles and responsibilities of the board president and vice president, and also members of the board. And also that the Board of Education collaboration, we will formulate and express decisions as a body of 9 speaking with 1 voice. And so, board members, if you will please sign off on those operating principles. The next document is that as board members, you are considered staff as you are issued GIPS electronic devices, as in a laptop. And so you also sign the staff use of electronic communication devices and administrative guidelines for network use, as does each staff member when they're hired on with Grand Island Public Schools. So again, this just spells out the appropriate use and the consequences for inappropriate use. And so these are also on your desk. And if you will go to the very last page and sign off on that form and place it in front of you. And then the board has also developed a board member code of ethics, and this is policy 2112. Board members' actions, verbal and nonverbal, reflect the attitude and the beliefs of the school district. Therefore, the Grand Island Public Schools board members must conduct themselves professionally and in a manner fitting to their position. Dr. Bros, will you please read the board member code of ethics?
Each board member shall follow the code of ethics stated in this policy. As a school board member, I will listen. I will respect the opinion of others. I will recognize the integrity of my predecessors and associates and the merit of their work. I will vote for a closed session of the board if the situation requires it, but I will consider secret sessions of the board members unethical. I will recognize that to promise in advance of a meeting how I will vote on any proposition that is to be considered is to close my mind and agree not to think through other facts and points of view which may be presented at the meeting. I will expect in board meetings to spend more time on education programs and procedures than on business details. I will express my honest and most thoughtful opinions frankly in board meetings in an effort to have decisions made for the best interests of the children and the education program. I will insist that the members of the board participate fully in board action and recommend that when special committees are appointed, they serve only in an investigative and advisory capacity. I will carefully consider petitions, resolutions, and complaints, and will act in the best interests of the school district.
Thank you, Dr. Brose. So I will now call for nominations for the office of President of the Grand Island Public Schools Board of Education. Mrs. Inc.
I would nominate Bonnie Hinkle.
Okay. We have a nomination for Bonnie Hinkle as president of the board. Any further nominations? Mrs. Bonnie Hinkle has been nominated for the office of president. Having no other nominations, Mrs. Bonnie Hinkle is declared president by acclamation. Congratulations, Mrs. Hinkle.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so then I take back, right, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Dexter, for helping us through that. I appreciate the vote of confidence, and we're a great board, so it's pretty easy to be your president, so appreciate it. Agenda item 6.6 is convening of the 2020 Board of Education. And as board president, I will convene and call to order the 2020 Grand Island Public Schools Board of Education. 6.7, our next order of business is to elect the vice president for the Board of Education. So at this time, I would entertain any nominations for the vice president position. Mr. Brown.
I would nominate Dr. Dan Brose.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I would name Dr. Dan Brose as the Board of Education Vice President by acclamation. Congratulations and thank you. All right. 6.8 then is our committee structure for 2020, and the board members had an opportunity to complete a survey stating their preferences, and based on that, we were able to put together this document, and I'll hand this out here, and each of the board members and the board cabinet members can take one of these. It was very worked out very well for our 4 standing committees, which are the Facility and Finance, Personnel, Policy Review, and Leading for Learning, that everyone received their first and second choices. So it worked out very nice. So there's very few changes. You'll notice a change on the Personnel Committee as well as the Leading for Learning Committee, but otherwise Facility and Finance and Policy Review stayed the same. So then on the Special and Ad Hoc Committees, that's where I think everyone was able to get their first choices. There were a few that maybe there was, more individuals than what we needed, but hopefully everybody will be happy with their assignments. And if you have any questions about why you were placed somewhere or weren't placed somewhere, feel free to ask me after the meeting as well. And so now that this is out, the district leaders can go ahead and start scheduling the meetings with the board members that are listed there. And the sheet is full, had to go down to 9-point font to get everything on here. So that tells me that all of the board members are working very hard, and I really, really appreciate your willingness to step forward and do your part, so thank you. And as always, we work with around the board members' schedules as much as possible. So be honest about what availability you have when meetings are being scheduled, so. All right. 6.9, Mrs. Worthington.
Thank you. Hopefully you got here in time tonight to see some photos of yourself and your fellow board members that we put together, just showing a few of the ways that you interact with our district. As you may remember from past years, January is designated as Board of Education Appreciation Month. And so on behalf of the district, I want to thank the board members for all that you do. The public may not realize you each serve on standing committees, but you serve on a variety of other committees. In fact, it was just mentioned, and I counted real quick, 20 committees that we need to put in 9-point font to get them all on one sheet. You also serve on things like Parent Advisory Council and Key Communicator Group to help show the community to help tell the story through board members' eyes as well as through the staff. You attend state and national conferences to represent the district and to further your own learning, and you represent our district at a number of community events. We can depend on seeing our board members at things like our building openings, our board walks, and district events, always looking for ways to support and enhance our community image. And I saw you in the pictures, several of you also reading to our students, and I know that's one of the things you all enjoy. Just tonight, you recommitted to the board operating principles where you agree on how you'll work together as a board. This year, you decided to implement a governance committee to look at additional ways that the board can function and learn and be a part of our district. We know that you take the district strategic plan very seriously, and you expect all of us to do so as well. I've heard, and you've all heard Dr. Grover state how fortunate she and GIPS is to work with such a high-functioning board. You're focused on our students. You ask the tough questions when you need to. We had some of that with our strategic plan workshop, just asking for explanations of the data and what else we could look at. You hold her accountable, and you expect her to lead the district and hold us accountable. So you stay very involved, but always in the appropriate way, operating as a high-functioning board would. Most importantly, I've heard every one of you look at a decision or a direction and say, how does this lead to every student every day of success? And often the next thing you say is, what is the impact on staff? Have we considered that, and have we put the resources in place to support our staff? So thank you sincerely to your dedication to the 10,027 students that we serve every day.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Worthington. We appreciate that. All right, we will move on to the information items now. And 7.1 are the campus highlights, starting with Walnut Middle School.
Bad when you gotta start taking your glasses off to see that. Well, good evening, and thank you, Board of Education, for allowing us to share some of our celebrations with you. We really appreciate that you take the time to notice the work that we do on our campus. I'm Rod Foley, I'm the principal here at Walnut Middle School, and I'd like to talk tonight about our Family Connectedness Center. As you know, last year we received a designation as a needs improvement school. And with that, we had the opportunity to participate in the comprehensive school improvement process with the state of Nebraska. In that process, one of the things that we were allowed to do was conduct a needs assessment and really probe into some of the things that would help us raise achievement at Walnut. And as we looked at the data, some of the data we used was data from our surveys from parents through Panorama. And some really interesting data that came out was that 85% of our parents were extremely pleased with our building. However, only 15% of those parents responded that they were actually involved in our building. So we really know that for us to increase student achievement, we needed to find a way to improve our parents. So that was what led us to the development through our grant of our Family Connectedness Center. And so we started to build our Family Connectedness Center. We put together a mission. And I just want to bring you to that first paragraph there, that first sentence. And that's to empower families and caregivers to become engaged advocates and supporters of their child's education. At first, we really thought we were about just developing family activities for families to come to and to come to Walnut. But as we were at the National Center for Families Learning Conference, what we really learned is that until we can help support our families, there's no way that they can engage their learner. And so we really started to rethink about what our mission was for our Family Connectedness Center. And so we started to go through that process and develop that mission. And we really are starting to work to bring families together, which is one of our strategic priorities. Which is partner, and that really hits Objective 8, which is the Grand Island community will be regularly and deeply engaged as partners, ensuring our student success. So I would like to introduce to you the coordinator of our Family Directedness Center, Maria Vasquez, who has been an incredible find for Grand Island Public Schools.
Thank you, Mr. Foley. Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here and share a little bit about our program. So bringing families together, that is something that we feel is an important part of our family engagement program at the school. Earlier in the year, we did a survey and we realized that a lot of the reason why our parents are not as involved as they'd like to be is because they work really long hours. A lot of our parents work up to 12-hour days. So we decided to partner up with our Builders Club and bring together our first annual family cookout event. So we actually held it out in the community. We went to Grace Abbott Park, and we did it on a Sunday in hopes that more families would be able to join us. We also collaborated with our staff and community partners as well as businesses. We collaborated with GIPD, Dick's Sporting Goods, and Gear Up. GIPD came out and they did Pop with a Cop, and they also did a kickball with the kiddos, so that was really nice. And then on November 21st was National Parental Involvement Day, and I thought that would be a great opportunity for us to invite families to come and celebrate Parent Appreciation with us. So we did a little event, and we had some families join us. And every day we get to talk to the students, build relationships with them. So this was a really nice opportunity for us to get to know the parents and have them come and spend some time with their students at the school. As Mr. Foley said, we also would like to provide more education opportunities for the parents so that they feel more empowered to be more involved in their child's education. And we partnered up with UNL to provide health and nutrition classes. This was a 6-week course, and it was really nice to see parents really committed into learning how they can lead healthier lives and be healthy, make healthier choices with their families. Our 2020 goals, we have a lot of fun and exciting things coming up. We have more classes coming up. In August, we have English language classes, as well as parenting and finance workshops, STEM and project-based workshops for parents. We have family activity nights coming up in February. We have our STEAM family activity night, so we're really excited about that. We have wellness, family yoga and meditation, and parent cafes as well. We also want to continue developing and our relationships with the community as well. I've been working a lot with the Lincoln School, which is one of our feeder schools, with community schools there. And I've also been working a lot with some of the smaller businesses in the community, some of the restaurants. They're actually very interested in sponsoring us and providing meals for our classes. So in doing this and collaborating with all these different groups, we feel that we can really engage more parents and families and empower them to feel more, to want to be more engaged in their child's education. And in turn, it also helps us achieve student success. So thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we're super excited about the work that we're doing at Walnut. So are there any questions that we can answer for you?
I have a question on can you explain more about what's the Parent Cafe?
Sure, yeah. So parent cafes are actually sort of a program that I've been wanting to bring to Walnut. There's different types of parent cafes, but what it really is sort of, it's kind of like a support system where You provide a space where parents come together and they can talk about different problems that they go through on a day-to-day basis, whether that be how do I communicate better with my child, especially at a middle school age. I feel like that's really important to bring. And it also, I feel like a lot of our families feel isolated. They don't really have that support. So it's a really good way to bring parents together and help them kind of build their own relationships and help each other out in ways that we wouldn't be able to help.
That's awesome. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Dr. Bros?
I appreciate the idea of the family cookout on a Sunday in one of the parks in the community. How was your turnout for that?
That was a really good turnout. We had about 150 families come out, and that was our first annual event. So we're hoping to have more. We were planning one for the fall. We were going to have a fall cookout, but the weather didn't work out in our favor. So, but we're definitely planning a spring one, and we want to bring more of those. And we'll be doing them at various different parks in our district.
That's pretty good attendance. Good job. All right. Any other questions? Awesome program. Thank you for sharing it with us. All right. Next up is Lincoln Elementary.
Good evening. I'm Maureen Oman, the principal at Lincoln, and we would like to share. Oh, you're going to help me? Oh, thanks. Oh, you're the best. You know I'm challenged. Anyway, first of all, I would like to say how much I appreciate the Board of Education. I know January is your month. I appreciate all your support. We work really hard at the building level, and I know that you guys are behind us all the way. I've been to several board meetings in my years as an educator and as an administrator, and it doesn't surprise me that when you guys are looking at things, that you just approve wholeheartedly on so many items without a lot of discussion because we've done our groundwork. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate all of you, especially the ability to be autonomous with our buildings and know what our building needs are and how much you trust us to take care of our students every day. So I just want to say thank you. Tonight I am here with the 5th grade and EL rep. This is Gail Bernard, and she is joining the PLC for 5th grade this year. And I have Brenda Carlson, who used to be 4th grade last year, but joined 5th grade this year. So she is in her first year at 5th grade. Vicki Wiesman, 5th grade. I don't know how long you've been at 5th grade. It's been a long time.
17 years.
There we go, 17 years. See, I should know this. And then Kevin Butters, you're rolling in onto the 3rd year here at 5th grade. And I talk about this team all the time because they're amazing. And we were blessed to have Shanna Gannon ask if we might be interested in videotaping a PLC process. And I know that is one of our goals, and I want you guys to know how excited I am daily to see teachers collaborating together and have appreciated the opportunity to expand our school schedule so that we can have teachers being able to collaborate daily with each other, and how important that is and how much that has improved our learning for our students, to have them have that opportunity of time, a bulk of time, a good hour to work together. Anyway, we're very fortunate. I want to show just a little clip of what a PLC looks like, and I'm so excited to share this with you. They are the true experts, so I'm going to try and do this here. Let's see if we can get this rolling. Yeah, will you do it? Okay, good. I just get so anxious. I can't do this.
Do you think that these two, the ones that are borrowing without the patterns or stuff, is that something that, because I know that this girl would definitely, and I just had a conversation with, this was probably just a simple mistake, because from the rest of her work, I'm even sure she knows what she did wrong, because I love that for her. So this might be a conversation I just had with this person.
Yeah, and again, I think, honestly, I will still consider this person, because he does have like that usage. If that's going to happen or whatever, if that changes
Okay, that's it. I was like, wait, there's more. I also wanted to introduce Whitney Flower. She's our instructional coach, and I forgot you, so I'm so sorry. But anyway, this is just like a small little snippet, but what the good part is that we're gonna take, I think that you taped like about 2 hours worth. They probably thought it felt longer than that, but tape that, and then we're gonna share it. We're gonna be able to use that to show expertise in our district, so I'm really excited. I did tell them they could say one thing, so I'm gonna let them talk and just maybe just talk about a highlight of PLCs.
I was going to mention that over the summer we went to the Solution Tree Services PLC workshop with Jack Balderman. I think that was one of the best parts of what has made our PLC this year grow up and level up from what it was before. So I'd say that that was a great experience.
And I'll just piggyback off of that. We're a great team because every one of us attended that workshop, and that's why it was so effective for all of us, because we were all on the same page.
And I would just say from moving from 4th grade to 5th grade, I've kind of got to see 2 different teams working in PLCs, so I've seen a lot of things I like in 5th grade, and it's just interesting to see different, like how teachers take it differently and what's working, what's not working, and it's been an experience.
I'm one of the EL teachers at our building. I work with the gamut of kids from kindergarten through 5th grade. It's my first opportunity to work with this team as an EL teacher. And I've really enjoyed seeing how they collaborate and how they work towards the rigor, bringing rigor to their students and providing opportunities for every child in their classrooms to grow educationally. So I appreciate their support as well. Thank you.
Thank you for letting us share. Are there any questions?
Any questions? I would just ask, so what, have you seen a difference? Like okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They are kid-focused. They're talking about, problems that they're having. And what I think is so powerful is that it's right there. They're not waiting on a map test or something like that. They're talking about standards that are right there. Oh,
They said I can share the results.
Okay, sure. Yes, share the results.
So since they came 2 times, the first time was planning for intervention for this, which is mostly what this was about. And then afterwards, we took the test and saw how the intervention worked. And out of our 39, how many kids do we have? 39 fifth graders? 59. Out of our 59 fifth graders, 54 of them passed the test after the intervention. So
awesome.
It was really good.
Did you have like 20 out of 21 who were proficient after the
After the intervention, yeah, they were not proficient before. Yep, and they received it. Yeah, 21 out of 22. Yeah. So.
Yay, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I know
you.
you guys have an information item on some PLC work. I think that's on this month's board, and I would just like to encourage you to allow that to happen. That's my little plug for that, because the more experience we get and the more time we get to spend together and develop those leaders in our building, the more powerful it's going to be.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Yes, you're a good advertisement for that.
I know. Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
7.2 is our FIT update. Dr. Dexter, and it looks like you have some guests as well.
I do have some guests. And when Verna Haberman retired, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, how do you replace Verna Haberman? And it's not so much that we replaced her, we just expanded on all the work that she started. And Holly Bosleger came on, literally hit the ground running and just started digging into things and her technology skills, her communication skills, her connections to the community, just really got us off to a great start. So I would like to introduce Holly Bosleger and Brian Whitecalf, and then Anna Rodriguez. And they are going to go through, they put together a PowerPoint with just some real short talking points. So if you would just let them go through that and then take some time to really dig deeper and to answer some questions.
Hi everyone, I'm Holly Baselogger. We are the Families in Transition team, previously known as the Outreach Center. We are through Grand Island Public Schools to help students and families, and we are supported through the McKinney-Vento Act and the Title I funds. So what does in transition mean? Typically, we call them homeless, but we have been trying to transition out of that because that's just a stigma we don't want the kids to have. So in transition means any family who is in a temporary situation with housing. This can include doubled up families, unaccompanied youth, families living in shelters, in a motel, or out on the street. Services we provide. So we provide transportation, which is taxi vouchers typically, or mileage reimbursement. We do school supplies at the beginning of the year or as needed when new kids come in. Hygiene products, clothes, furniture, coats, archipelago, referrals to agencies for food and other assistance, and food for thought. And I'm actually going to have Brian talk about Archipelago. It's the food pantry and clothes closet at Grand Island Senior High. So you want to come up and talk about that real quick? Sure. I don't have a slide because I've got a slide.
The Archipelago is the newly remodeled space of the former sewing room near the Hulas. Once the Medical Academy did a renovation last year. I started in about a year ago, and the Student Advisory Committee and Nicole Whitaker had proposed giving away clothing to students in need. It's since been remodeled, and I think that since last year, we have served 237 students, and it's sort of on a no questions asked situation. We have documented how many times we've given a clothing item or hygiene or food product away. We have a washer and dryer available to students. We have 2 students from Project Search that come every Friday. We have a refrigerator. We have partnered with Super Saver, Starbucks, the chocolate bar, Messiah Lutheran Church, Trinity United Methodist Church, First Presbyterian Church, Heartland Food Bank, and I can't really tell you how much food I've given away. But I could say from Super Saver that I've given away 2,250 pounds of produce that was destined to be in the dumpster. On average, Starbucks gives a little or a lot. Same with the chocolate bar and some of the other agencies. We take whatever's left. We have now created a free farmers market in the media center. And the after-school program, students can take as much as they want. And hopefully they take all of it. So I don't have to dispose of it tomorrow. I'm blessed to be in a building with administration and staff that has been very accommodating and helped me in my this process. Our special education department picks up the produce from Super Saver every day. They sort it and put it in the right categories and make it presentable. That produce that is not really up to par, we have given it to 2 teachers who raise chickens, and they give us the eggs. The Project Hunger is another nonprofit organization that provides food, and they have given us a partnership with Hy-Vee, and we get about 10 half-gallon milks on a Friday and 10 dozen eggs on Friday. And going forward into the future, we have taken in hotel soap and remade it, and we've given it to homeless veterans. We have students who are taking Walmart sacks and turning them into plastic mats for homeless students or homeless individuals of any kind. And then we have partnered with the Police Department, with their code enforcement, who pick up bicycles that are left around the community. And I'll tell you, the garage they have has about 150 bicycles in there waiting for us that have a 6-month waiting period for the owner to pick up. But we've given away about 7 bicycles, which has improved our students' attendance. And hopefully, as we go forward, we get more clothes, more food, more items. And I think that our biggest goal is to remove the stigma of accepting help. And obviously, we have several students who are taking advantage of this program.
Okay. So with the services that we provide, We have identified this year alone, from beginning of the school year to now, 85 children who are currently identified as homeless or in transition. 41 of them are doubled up, so they're just living, couch surfing, living with another family as a temporary situation. 24 are in shelters, 16 are in a motel, and there are 4 unaccompanied youth who don't have a parent or guardian, so they are either couch surfing or renting an apartment on their own. So far this year, we've had 40 students who have utilized taxi vouchers. 92 coats were given out in October for students. We've had 10 hygiene bags and 30 school supplies outside of our back-to-school bash that we do every year. Food for Thought. So Food for Thought is a program through Title I and other funding that allows the school to provide bags of food for families on free and reduced lunches. These bags are given to students on the last day of the school week to ensure they have meals over the weekend. So for some statistics, last year at December, we helped 105 students. 65 of them were in elementary, 21 of them were in middle school, and none were at the GISH or alternative programs. As of this year of December, we've helped 169 students, 128 are at the elementary schools, 22 at middle schools, and then with a grant we were provided, we were able to extend that out to do GISH and the alternative schools. So we have 5 at Success Middle School, 5 at GISH, 4 at Success Academy High School, and 5 at the Skills High School level. Some current and future challenges. Current challenges are identification of homeless students in the secondary schools, just that we need better communication, and adequate and affordable housing for families, because a lot of the times they get evicted and they don't have the rent money to get into new housing. Future challenges is sustaining the Food for Thought program for the alternative schools in the high school. We were given a $2,500 grant from First, help me out. Farmer Credit Services. Thank you, Farmer Credit Services of America. And that only gets us so far. And then the Grand Island Community Foundation was very generous and gave us another $4,500 amount this year too. So with that, we're able to help expand it, but we see that as a future challenge as well. And then this is just our contact information. We do have a Facebook webpage, GIPS Families in Transition, and where we post things that are needed and updated things. And then we also have our website through the GIPS website as well. Do you guys have any questions for us?
So I guess I'm just a little curious, more information about the food pantry. I mean, do you feel like you have enough food? Do you need more food? This is near and dear to my heart. I think I'm channeling my grandmother because I've always loved feeding people and knowing that there's kids that need more food. I mean, I think we as a board would support, whatever you might need, either from us personally or, through our contacts. But this is, it's so important. I mean, how can you be successful in school if you're hungry and if, you need a pair of shoes? And so I guess I just want to make sure that you're getting what you need and you're not afraid to ask for it.
We are currently serving 10 kids per school, and my goal is to increase that, because right now kids are being sent home with only 6 items every weekend, and some of those families have 5 or 6 kids, but they are only able to get 1 bag. So that bag would include like a bag of cereal, 1 can of vegetables, 1 can of fruit. Sometimes it's like spaghetti or top ramen, or like a can of beef ravioli, a granola bar, or like a bag of popcorn. And so my goal is to increase that so that they have more food for the weekend, especially when, like Christmas break or spring break, when that's a longer week, they have a little bit more food to sustain them. We've been looking for grants. We've been trying to do some outreach. We will be communicating with Heartland Food Bank to see what we can do there as well. So we're working on that. And we've just been posting things on Facebook, and people are doing food drives. Third City Christian Church is using their offering for January through April as their giving for the Food for Thought program. So whatever they will give to us, and then we can go out and purchase food as well. So we do a lot of Facebook posts, especially for shoes. That's a big need. Since Shopko went out of business, we don't have shoe vouchers anymore. So we're working on trying to figure that out in the community as well, so these kids can have good shoes and not have holes in them going to school.
Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
Mrs. Schutz.
I just want to say thank you for all that you guys do. I see the posts all the time and know there's
I don't know how I didn't cry. Honestly, I don't know how I didn't.
Huge needs in the community. So you guys do a fabulous job. And like Lee said, this is such a big thing, and I'm very appreciative of that. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Mr. Brown.
Well, first of all, I love the name. I love the families in transitions. That's a very as positive a way as you can put this and not try to put a label. I totally understand. My question is, as far as identification of the kids, and also how do you overcome from the kids' standpoint, I mean, to accept things like this and to actually say that you need something. I mean, how do you get over that bridge? Because I'm sure they're not just knocking at your door telling you they need things. It's a matter of teachers finding out, I'm assuming, or, I mean, how's that communication working and how can we make it better?
Our social workers in the elementary schools are amazing. They do find a lot of the families when they're discussing with them. And if I have a family that comes up to me, I was homeless in high school, so it gives me an opportunity to just kind of relate to them and just, it's not always easy asking for help, but this is just a little period in your time. So I kind of connect with them on that level. My goal is to start working with some counselors in like the high schools and stuff too, to kind of identify more, because I know there's a lot of unaccompanied youth in the high schools. It's just a matter of getting them to accept it and understand that it's okay that you're in this transition period. We're here to help you. So we're just trying to put a positive spin on it. I know that sounds bad, but we're trying to put a positive spin on it in the sense of you're not alone. There's people that have been there. We're here for you. What can we do to help you?
Yeah, that was just my next question, is how do you get the word out? And I guess that would be the thing to overcome. But again, thank you for what you do. It's a mountain, and it's, like I said, for these kids and the families, it's not a position they want to be in. And it's a matter of what we can do to help them out. I knew that this kind of is the old backpack program, like way back. We call it the backpack program, and it sounds like we need more food in the backpacks right now. So we'll see what we can do. Thank you.
Mr. Barsonis.
I'm not gonna cry. I don't even know what to say. I just think this really speaks out about the importance of relationship. And to all the staff, to all the teachers, to everybody that is part of GIPS, thank you for representing us well. But it takes everybody that is in the classroom and the community. And it's just, I had the honor of working with Verna for a long time, and I've been in the community, and I remember going through high school and knowing the kids that were in transition, right? And sometimes you don't identify as in transition because you have friends who open their doors and you are doubled up. But I think that it speaks of all of our staff, teachers, that it continue to be a calling, not a career. That's why you are in GIPS, because that's what builds those friendships and relationships. And it just goes to speak how important it is that we continue to be part of our students' lives and that we go beyond the classroom. And I know we've talked about it before, but how many times we know the stories of kids that have graduated with no mom or dad. They walked through the stage and they raised their siblings. And, maybe they didn't get a scholarship to a university, but they got their kid, they got their lives together, and they got their siblings together. And what an accomplishment. And I think it takes a lot of the relationships that they built in the classroom, not only with the teachers, with the staff, but with their friends as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much. You would all make Mrs. Haberman very proud.
Thank you.
And Brian, do you want to share what this is?
One of the things we identified in the very beginning is that there are multiple organizations who provide free food Monday through Sunday in Grand Island. But we were the only organization that made sure that we brought all of them together to distribute the information. Because most of these families or people in general do not know that these services are available. And I've been to every single organization. I've been to there's one on Saturday, the food bank. And what I find is that we're not getting families to go to everything. And so we color coded it. We put it in Spanish and English. We've been sending it out. It's a sort of a refrigerator guide to help people, So, usually the students at the high school, when I give them free food, I make sure that they Snapchat the flyer. And so I encourage all of you, Snapchat if you do, or Twitter, or put it on your Facebook page. And also, we're always looking for volunteers. And so some of these families would be gratefully reassured when they see your face, or just encouraged. I wanted to say one more thing. There's a great book called Give a Mouse a Cookie. And there's always this question, working in this business, that we're doing something charitable or generosity. I view this as solidarity. There's a quote, people talk about give a man a fish. Well, we give a mouse a cookie and he'll want a glass of milk. And then he'll want a straw. And then he'll want a mirror to make sure he doesn't have a milk mustache. And then he'll want a pair of scissors so he can trim his hair in the mirror. And so where does this all stop? And I always tell a lot of people, I'm not in the business of giving things away for free. My goal is to make cookie makers. My goal has been to partner with students and staff to make sure that they are generous. There are things I do not like eating, and you may love them. There are certain cookies I love and others I do not. And certain people get things that they don't want, coats and socks and shoes, and they don't fit anymore, and I have them in the back of my closet. And Jack Sheard has given me every marathon t-shirt he owns. And then I'm able to give those away. And really that's what our program is doing, because someday the student's going to come back and I've invested in them, and that's what it's about.
And then the other thing at your spot is hot off the press, Families in Transition, and who asked for this?
The Department of Labor.
Department of Labor contacted Holly and said, we hear you guys are doing all kinds of things to help families. Could you give us a brochure? So what she did, she created one today and it's ready to go. So just an awesome team. Anna Rodriguez, we have a partnership with United Way. She's a Vista worker. And again, hit the ground running and just has dug in, does a lot with research and pulling numbers together and the whole technology piece. So again, just an outstanding team, the FIT team, and we're so proud of them.
Yes, we are. Thank you very much for being here. Oh,
One more question,
Mrs.
sorry. If we have donations, where do they go to?
You can drop them off here at the admin building and just tell them they're for me.
okay.
Thank you.
That sounds awesome. So it sounds like part of what we can do as Board of Education members is get the word out about the needs, and then also volunteer as we can as too. So thank you again very much for being here. All right. 7.3 is the Summer Grapple Institute training.
Good evening. That's a hard act to follow. Thank you to our Families in Transition team for making a difference for our students. And I would also like to express my gratitude to the Board of Education for all that you do. You are in with us all the way. You've been a support. You challenge us. You are there to make sure that our kids are getting what they need. And so for that, I'd like to say thank you for your commitment and dedication. I can't speak to other districts, but I feel like we are absolutely the best one in the nation, so because of you. Okay, so this proposal, you have this proposal linked, I think, as a needs analysis with all the details. I've also shared this with a couple of different committees, but the purpose of what I'm coming to you tonight is really to provide you with some information. We're going to be coming back in February just asking you to approve some Title I funds to help support some professional learning for our teachers, our principals, and our Leadership for Learning team around PLC facilitation. And the reason that this is coming to your attention is to support our strategic plan objectives of making sure that our GIPS schools and classrooms are led by instructional experts, and that our central office is able to provide some differentiated supports to our schools, our principals, and our teachers to help them achieve their school improvement goals. And so, with that in mind, we've been really focusing in on the last 2 years, 3 years, initially, to get PLCs to a point where we really are starting to see the impact in the classroom because of their intentional planning. And this is hard work when teachers come together and they are collaborating around what do kids need to know and be able to do. What do we do if they don't get it? What do we do when they do get it? And then design those interventions and those assessments. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of skill and it takes collaboration. And so there's a lot of professional learning that comes to the table to help teachers learn those skill sets in order to be successful at it. We do know that we have some bright spots in our district where teachers have really solid teams. They're effectively coming together. They're designing units of instruction. But we also know we have some challenges around the district, and we want to ensure that all of our schools and all of our grade levels have the opportunity to build effective PLCs and those communities of learning that are effectively getting to the needs of our students in the classroom. So this is one way to do it. We've done some research. What is it? What is that key factor, that key lever that is really leading effective PLCs, and that is around facilitation training. And so we've done some research and found Daniel Venables, who has done some extensive research as well as done some professional learning in other districts that has highly impacted student outcomes. So in front of you is our proposal for this work, which would occur this summer. It's 3 days intense professional learning that really focuses in on the why, it focuses in on the how, the what, and it focuses on the how. So it gives teachers some opportunities to actually practice facilitation training. They build some skill sets, and then they have an opportunity to implement coming back to the school year and be a teacher leader in the process. We are focusing in on Title I schools at this point, funding purposes, and also it gives us an opportunity to kind of pilot this process in a lot of our schools. We know that because we're involved as a Leading for Learning team and our instructional coaches that are involved, that we can extend some of this learning into our non-title buildings as well. So it's not going to go unnoticed. It's when we learn, we take our learning and we apply it and we provide it to our other schools. So we want to make sure that we're able to support with some skill sets to all of our schools in the district. A recommendation that we are making, we had, it was this information, or the professional learning was offered to all of our schools, all of our Title I schools. We really weren't sure if all of them would be on board because there's some buildings that are still engaged in a lot of other professional learning, and we don't want to interfere with any of that as well. But all schools came back and said they would really like to be a part of this, really like to be involved in this training. So we are recommending that we host 2 cohorts that would occur either in June or July. And that would be at a cost of $106,000 of Title I funds. We do have those funds available and we can allocate towards professional learning, and that's where those dollars would be committed. They would also support some books for all the participants, as well as follow-up professional learning. After the training, Venables would come back and he would actually participate, go to some of our PLCs, give us some feedback, and give us some additional professional learning to support. Are there any questions on the proposal?
Dr. Burrows.
I don't have a question, Dr. Palmer, but I have a couple of comments. Dr. Palmer appeared before the Finance and Facilities Committee and laid out the proposal along with the financial needs. But I want to compliment you on the needs analysis. Sometimes looking at that form and saying, I got to do one more thing. But that needs analysis shows that there was purpose and thoughtfulness that went into it. And after I read it, I knew exactly what you were going to do. So thank you for taking the time to put as much detail in it as you did.
And thank you. And I can't take the credit. My team, all participated in this work. They did the research. We came to the table. We talked about it. It is very intentional to that credit as well, but they definitely played a big part. So thank you. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Well, I think tonight we had the testimony why it's important, so thank you. I think you may have set her up. No. 7.4 is the modify 403B plan, Mr. Harden.
So how is being a school board member like an iceberg? what you see on the tip is a meeting that you're in tonight. What you don't see, what's under the water, is all the time, effort, energy, thought that goes into the conferences, the trainings, the committee meetings, the social gatherings, graduation, you name it. So, from the bottom of my little heart, thank you for all that you do for kids. So, my little thank you for you there. So, I do truly appreciate your efforts. I hope you know that. So, 403B, we had the proposal, I guess, that's in front of you is that take our old, never used 403 early retirement incentive plan and merge it into our newly adopted that we started September 1 for our current 403B plan. The IRS does not allow you to just end one. You must merge it together so that there's continuity, even though we never used it. So we did look at that at the time, and the attorneys are like, you know, I think we're okay because they haven't modified it from the time that you started that, even though you've never used it. And within 3 months, what did they do? Gave us a whole packet that said, hey, we're modifying this, you have to sign this. And so we're like, no, we'll merge it together. And so our new plan, the current 403B plan that we adopted and started September 1, allows for what the old emergency plan called for. So with that, I would conclude my comments.
Nope, okay, thank you, appreciate it. Oh, you're up next, apparently. Tyler Technologies Payment Services Agreement, Mr. Harton.
So how is Bemis going? No, I already did that one. I got to come up with another one. So thanks for putting up with me. There you go. So the accounts payable is changing. The modern era of banking is such that we really want to get out of the check writing business. We want to reduce our risk. And so our software vendor that we've been using now for 10 years, believe it or not, has a product where we can work with them, and instead of writing everything in check, technically we wire everything over 50,000 now, but it allows for our vendors that we owe money to select one of 4 different payment methods. And then it's kind of a set it and forget it unless they tell us that they want to change. So they can do, much like your own banking, they can get an e-check, an e-business check in 2 business days. They can get from the time we send it, they get it. They can get it through an ACH, they can get it through a wire, or they can actually say, hey, I want it on a Visa card, and get that sent to them. So that's where we're moving. We still have some additional work to do and talk about and discuss about the implementation with that and how it goes forward. But that's what this agreement is for. And so with that, I would conclude my comments.
Okay, any questions? And Dr. Brose, sorry.
I just want to indicate again that the 403B plan and the Tyler Technology Payment Services Agreement have both been discussed at the Finance and Facilities Committee. Questions have been asked, and you've been good about responding to those. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, 7.6 is our student representative report. Ms. Lane, welcome.
All right. I'm also going to start off with saying this may not be as long as usual because we've been out for 2 weeks. So the first thing is there have been recent changes this semester with Islander time for juniors and seniors. We used to have a 25-minute Islander time period and then a 50-minute lunch period. But starting this semester, we got rid of that 25-minute Islander time period, and it is now becoming a 75-minute win period, which is what I need. So it's just more time for us to go talk to teachers, administrators, counselors about what we all need to do. Juniors are continuing their John Baylor prep. They'll do that on A days, and then B days, they'll have their 75-minute win block. Freshmen and sophomores, they're not changing. They're still continuing their normal Islander time structure and their John Baylor prep. John Baylor will be coming on January 16th for a live training session, and he'll be back on February 20th, March 27th, and April 5th to do more training sessions leading up to the test date. And then my next one is just some highlights with Student Council and National Honor Society. National Honor Society is getting ready to host a student dodgeball game, or student and teacher dodgeball game on January 22nd. And then Student Council, we're hosting a fundraiser for the Make-A-Wish Foundation tomorrow during halftime at both the boys and the girls varsity basketball games. And we'll also be giving out or selling little Islander basketball like tattoos to support some Islander pride at the games. And then starting next week, we'll be starting a Pennies for Patients fundraiser. So each, and if you don't know what Pennies for Patients is, it's another group kind of like Make-A-Wish, but they raise money and give it to leukemia patients and other types of cancer. And so we'll be doing each 1A block will have a bucket where students and teachers can donate, and the class that wins or raises the most money will win an Olive Garden or Domino's celebration party. And we'll also be doing a raffle at the January 17th boys varsity basketball game for like themed baskets to have people donate also. And also one thing I wanted to add it after the one group talked about the food pantries and everything. Not only do you guys and teachers and all the administrators not like to watch the students struggle, but me and other students don't. So Superintendent, Student Advisory Council, NHS, and Student Council all also work with the archipelago, and we help organize some of the stuff. And like you said, tie the rugs, because now I'm crying. Because it's not Jesus.
It's okay. It's okay.
I have to calm down, otherwise I explode. But it's not fun going in class and knowing that your friends or your other classmates are struggling at home and all that. Anyways, moving on. With the academies, all of the academy advisory boards are preparing, they're all meeting this month, and they're going to be sharing academy news, which will include reports from pathway teachers and also the students. Since each board has a few students on it, they'll also be covering some information on job shadowing, internships, and apprenticeships. There we go. They will be hearing from Scott Fox, who will be presenting a teacher's perspective and a teachers versus businesses perspective presentation where, sorry if I butcher his name, Jay Ganuzzi and Justin Scott will be portraying the businesses perspective. The overall goal of this meeting will be to ask the board members to host students as interns. And in addition to this, they will also be studying the business and community support standards within the National Standards of Practice model. And then GISH is getting ready to host all of the district 8th graders for tours of GISH and CPI campuses. We're doing something this year where we're hosting an 8th grade extravaganza for the 8th graders and their parents on Sunday, January 19th from 1 to 5 p.m. At GISH. And then all freshmen are preparing to do mock interviews, which will be on February 4th and 5th. The Foundation of Medical Sciences are planning a tour of St. Francis, which will be on February 10th, 11th, and 12th, and then those academy teachers will be attending a separate tour on the 13th. A CNA job fair, I mentioned this one on at the last board meeting. It's tomorrow from 1 to 3 at CCC. 24 GISH students are currently registered to attend. These students will be arriving with their resumes, since they will have opportunities for on-site interviews. Businesses that will be there include CHI with St. Francis, Bickford Assisted Living, Country House residencies, Riverside Lodge Retirement Community, Brookfield Skilled Nursing Rehabilitation, and St. Paul Sarah Care, and then as well as just the CCC College of Nursing. And then with sports, Show Choir held their annual kids camp on this past Sunday, and at that same day they also had their premiere night to go ahead and kick off the competition season. They'll have their first competition this Saturday, and that just kicks off their season and puts it in full swing, and they'll just be continuing with their competitions throughout the state. And then on January 17th, the children's choir will be singing the national anthem at the varsity boys basketball game. And over winter break, boys basketball continued to play, and at the Heartland Event at Conference, and we scored a victory over Kearney. Intramural basketball is at 140 participants, and Mr. Higgins is still doing a great job at sponsoring the activity. At Flatwater Fracas, the wrestling team earned second place overall out of the 26 teams from Nebraska, Kansas, and Wyoming. And there were several individual champions, and the boys are just doing a great job in their season. Swim team has a home meet on January 14th and 23rd, and they've been doing a great job, and they're pretty entertaining if you want to go out and watch. And then cheerleaders and the Islanders have been practicing because their competitions season's also getting ready to start. And then just today, Cindy or Mrs. Wells announced that Marcus Erke is the new varsity volleyball coach, and Taylor Graves is the new softball coach for the varsity team. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. That was a very good report. All right, 7.7 is the construction update. Mr. Patch.
I'd just like to transmit my thanks, words of thanks to the board as well. You guys are difference makers, so thanks. On the report, good news on construction. Our storage shed will be done and we'll move in here later on this month, so there'll be one project complete. Although on the stadium, I'm not going to talk about good news. I'm getting a little disappointed. Our general contractor's been falling behind a little bit. I mean, with the weather, with the holidays, you know, you can throw any excuse in there you want. They've been trying, but and making decent progress, but they're not going to make March. And I hope that we're able to get in maybe at best first part of May. So we'll make a plan B. We're not real worried about that as far as, you know, we were able to do football, and that was really the big one, to just have the stands ready, and we'll have that for soccer and track. So we'll make it happen. But, you know, they're still working on this. It's a big project and a lot going on that West Stadium. So, and we want to do it right. We want to make sure we have a really good finished product. And so I just want to be out there right now that I know what I see, and it's not going to be March. So they did get started over on the East Stadium as well. And again, progress is decent there. With that alternate, you know, I'm pretty sure we'll be down to the wire on that one as well. But I'm going to keep pushing them. You can count on that. And I'll just keep you up to date as we move forward. So another thing, not great news either, but it is what it is. As I've been working with project list, is some of the things I've come across here. One of the big ones is ELC. I think we've talked a lot about our present location, our temporary location. We've been out at for 12 years now, you know, and we've always been working on that location with really just minimal to keep it going, because we've always expected to, you know, potentially not use that location. I mean, you know, during the bond, you know, we had conversations about potentially maybe the old Star could be converted after we got done with the bond. Obviously, you know, we had needs and that are going to, you know, obviously, you know, we won't be able to utilize that space there. So, you know,
just going through the project list, I put a little more time into some of the big things that if we were going to continue at that location. You know, there's quite a bit. I'll present project list, like I said, probably next month, but just things like the site access, the parking, the drop-off pickup. Even though we have moved some of those classrooms out of there, we still have major issues at that location. I mean, the site's very small still. It's obviously not in the best location in the city for, you know, serving our public. You know, we've got safety items. We don't have a camera system there. We don't have a sprinkler system there. I mean, I will assure you that the building's safe, but there are just things that, you know, our current standards that were not there. You know, the classroom size, for instance, is one of the reasons that we moved and redid the old Westridge into the Engleman it is now. There's just not a lot we can do with that. You know, the restrooms, just not what they should be for that facility. You know, I've talked about the exterior building needs, you know, the fact it needs windows and tuck pointed and some of those things, and our mechanical, electrical, plumbing as well. So just, you know, I'm going to get close and say with my math, we're hovering around $4.3 million worth of needs that I can see, you know, through the next several years. So just putting that out there, folks. And so I'm going to close, and I'll answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? We appreciate the information.
Sorry, thanks.
All right, 7.8 is our superintendent report. Dr. Grover.
Thank you, Madam President. You know, it's often said that you can look to the top of the organization to set the tone, and I think you've seen here tonight that your care and concern as board members is just infectious to all of us. You really demonstrate how to care and love for our students, and I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to work with you. I always tell my colleagues that my board, they surely do have high expectations, but it's so worth it because I never feel alone in this work. So thank you for all of your commitment and involvement. Just to follow up with Mr. Petch's report about ELC, tomorrow we will have a tour over at the ELC. Maybe you will have the opportunity to see firsthand some of the information that he shared tonight. We also want you to be able to have the opportunity to talk with Amy Richards, who is our Director for Early Childhood, and so that we can understand some of the programming aspects and the vision that we have for our early learning program. So if you could arrive around 8:15 or so, we would like to start the tour at 8:30. And Mr. Petch will help lead that, and then we'll have some other conversations with Mr. Harden, and as I explained, Amy Richards. So I look forward to seeing you all in the morning again. See how involved you are? Not even done with this meeting. Also, at our last retreat, we had quite a bit of conversation around attendance and just a couple of areas you wanted us to clarify in regards to how attendance is collected. I did share a document with you, but I just also want to point it out because I think, you know, you asked a great question that we probably need to bring clarity to our community around what's reported as an absence. And I want to thank Dr. Dexter for really just kind of giving us a chart to make it clear. But anytime when we do not know why a student is not at school, it's considered absent. And that is reported to the state, and that is part of the data collection process. Also, when students go to the doctor, you may think that I have a doctor's note, but that is still an absence that goes against the students. It's excused, but it's still reported as absent. The other area is parent request. So although there may be instances where a parent may not inform us, but even if they do inform us that they want to be gone for whatever reason, it is still counted against the student. And the other one is truant. We reached out to the student and they just refused to come to school. So those are the four categories that impact our attendance. Next month, Dr. Dahl is really looking at where we are with chronic absenteeism, and we look to bring that report to you. But again, I think that we can help continue to try to educate our community so that they understand what's driving the numbers around the attendance, but moreover, the impact that it has when students are not in school, the opportunities that they're missing. So we talked a little bit about the extravaganza, and so I believe that it's going to be on January 19th, as you mentioned, from 1 to 4. We would love to have you there to help talk with our parents, so really excited about it. Also just kind of wanted to pass this around. We have such an awesome marketing team, and I just love this one. We talk about personalized learning. So every one of our 8th grade students, they received a personalized invitation. And so it will have their name mailed to their home, and really excited about bringing all 3 of our middle schools together for this event. I know the high school's been working hard on it. And so I personally want to invite the board as well as the community, our parents of our 8th graders, I should say, to come out and learn more about the academy experiences. And as you are waiting on the 19th, boy, it's just been so excited. The last couple of weeks, we've had the opportunity to be on the radio to talk about the academies of Grand Island Senior High School. And we've taken the radio live. I tell you, these people here in Grand Island Public Schools, they will take you to the next level. So you can watch it on Facebook Live. And of course, you can tune in to KRGI to listen as well. But it's been exciting to hear the leadership talk about all of the experiences. Today, I actually had a chance to listen to the radio, and just to hear that our students are traveling to colleges so that they can learn what it's like to be a teacher for the ones that are over at our Academy of Education, Law, and Public Safety. They have trips planned to Wayne State where they can see firsthand what it looks like to take part in a crime scene lab. And so, I mean, it's just so many different opportunities, and we would not be able to do this without your leadership. And I really appreciated Brian's comments today on the radio. He said it's been a going theme with these reports, how involved our community is. We can have these experiences because our community is providing their expertise. And I believe that we have calculated it to be about 140 partnerships that we have across our community. I'm looking out to the audience at Mr. Phillips and Mr. Giberson, and I just applaud them too for being able to help make those connections. But that's why we can do what we do in Grand Island. So tune into the radio for the next 3 weeks. I think we're going to actually, next 4 weeks, we're going to go into February where we will have that last feature will be all about our Academy Advisory Boards, and we can learn more about those partnerships. Just another opportunity, we talked about early childhood education and the impact here in Grand Island Public Schools. Dr. Dexter and I both have been involved with the Buffett Workforce Commission. I started from the grassroots efforts 3 years ago, and so they are finally ready to release a report. They will have a launch of that report on January the 30th. I will have the opportunity to participate on the panel. But after the launch of it is just really a call to action for us to be able to share this information out with our community. So I look forward to bringing that information back. And it's just good to know that we are thinking about that same type of efforts to put behind early childhood education and how we support the caregivers that are taking care of our most vulnerable population. That concludes my report for tonight. Thank you.
And I think on behalf of all the Board of Education, we say thank you for all the kind comments that you've given us tonight about being on board. We appreciate it. All right, we'll move to action items. 8.1 is the staffing study. Mr. Stelk.
Good evening. Last month we reviewed the staffing study proposal from the district management group, and of course we've been talking about this for several months in the personnel committee. Since our last board meeting, we've also reviewed this at the strategic plan review meeting and then at the last facilities and finance committee meeting. So I really don't have any new or additional information to present regarding the proposal, so I would answer any questions that you have.
Anyone have any questions? Do I have a motion? Mrs. Schetz?
I would move to recommend the
I would recommend to approve the staffing study as proposed.
And is there a second? Second, Mrs. Albers. Any discussion? Please vote. All right, thank you. 8.2 is the band uniforms. Mrs. Labrie.
I think Virgil has given lots of information about the band uniforms. I'm just here to answer any questions if you have questions. Yes, we have an updated look. And I'll tell you one of the reasons we're excited. I'm a little leery about the white, but here is, I think it's going to be good. John Jacobs said there are some really great moves you can do when you have a white on one side. So I'm excited to see what our show looks like next year with this uniform in mind. I think it's going to be very eye-catching. So one, I can give just a bit of background of why we changed after we had originally proposed. What was happening on a consistent basis was people were saying, now is this the old uniform or is this the new uniform? And John said, no, absolutely not. If we are investing in new uniforms, we need it to be known these are the new uniforms, that they are not similar to our old uniforms. So hence the change to this new look. And oh, I love I don't know, what do you even, swoosh thing down the side. So.
They are pretty cool.
Yes, questions that you have in regards to the band uniforms.
Mrs. Zink.
So would they be here for this fall?
Yes, they will. If you say yay, we just need to push the button. We're ready. Yes. Exactly.
Ms. Wolf.
I do want to just reiterate the concern of the white, because
Yes.
I am from the land of the all-white uniforms back in the late 90s. So I was just going to say that is just one thing, just as long as we're ready for the cleaning.
Yes, yes.
That's my big concern.
No,
So-
absolutely. And the band boosters do, they finance the cleaning of our uniforms once a year. And if you know Mr. Jacobs, he is very routine and very intentional. And so I believe our students will rise to that occasion, that the hopes would be these aren't on the floor of their cars, where sometimes items are at the high school. So I think that he's proactive in addressing that. But
Cute. Good. All right, Mrs. Schatz.
I'll just comment on that. Having had past band members and finding those uniforms on the
On the
backseat.
floor.
But no, generally the boosters and the moms are there to grab them as they take them off and put them in the bags. And so I really don't think it'll be a problem. But with that, I will recommend to approve the band uniforms as presented.
And is there a second? Second, I think I heard Mr. Brown. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes.
Order away.
yay! Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
All right, we will move now to committee reports, starting with 9.1, the Finance and Facilities Committee, Mr. Brown.
Thank you. I'll be reporting from our meeting on December 31st. That's New Year's Eve, by the way. Just as a reminder, yeah. We had an information update from Mr. Gerhart on some technology, some really exciting things about, cyber recovery, disaster type discussions, but also just knowing they were looking at it and looking at how we might have to back up the entire system and what that would look like. Not that we'd ever want to do it, but just in case. Got an update on the nutrition services, just a little bit about some personnel. Just again, a knee replacement for one person means lots of work for other people. Let's see. the big, I guess the date I want to throw in your head here is Tuesday, April 14th. That really hits two of our items here for our master facility planning and our best practices for school budgeting. That is really the next step for both of those. So that is a facility planning town hall meeting. I'm not sure where that's at. Okay, but the date is April 20 or 14th. So there you go. We did have discussions on the potential for an early learning center move, obviously, and also discussions of the Tyler technology agreement, which we saw this evening, and also the band uniforms and the 403B. We actually had a phone a friend type thing, and got an update on that, which is now behind us. We looked at some change orders for the couple of the projects that are still going on, and then had discussions on Memorial Stadium. On Memorial Stadium, there is a there is a media event on January 14th, which I believe that is a Sunday, is it not? At 2. Was that Tuesday? At 2 o'clock. So, but that it's on your calendar, so keep that in mind if you can join us. Again, we did talk about the Grapple Institute again in facility finance, and our next meeting will be February 4th at 7:30.
All right, thank you very much. 9.2 is the Leading for Learning Committee, and who's doing that report? Mrs. Albers.
So we met on January 7th. Dan Phillips was presenting, and Dr. Elliott from Wayne State was, on the computer, I guess. Anyway, it was it was a very nice presentation, and he's just very excited to work with Grand Island Public Schools to offer more courses to our students, and those will be offered at a lower cost, and it goes back to the equity that we always talk about. We want to make these credit classes more available to as many students as we possibly can without an added expense to them. So it was very exciting. And then Dr. Palmer presented on middle school math offerings and how students have access to those, and the goal is to offer enough rigor with support, but also to not make the kids struggle and then feel badly about how they're doing in the math. So it's about just finding that right fit for the kids, whether it's geometry or algebra or basic math, whatever is right for them. And then they're just going to continue working on that and making sure that the students get the supports they need, but also that the teachers get the supports they need to build that confidence that the kids need to be able to be successful in math. Because 8th grade seems to be a real turning point for kids progressing in math or deciding that they can't do math, even if they can do math. So, and then Dr. Dahl presented some data. We know how Dr. Dahl loves his data on 9th grade students on track, and then kind of relating that back to 8th grade too, and that was really interesting. He's going to dig into that a little bit more, and we'll be getting more information about that in the future. And then we had some talk about 5-, 6-, and 7-year graduation data. The winter map window is open through the end of January, and parent-teacher conferences are February 10th through the 13th. And our next meeting is to be determined.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry. 9.3 is our Personnel Committee report. Mrs. Schetz.
Personnel Committee met on January 6th. We had another look at the staffing study, have kind of an overview of the timeline and the different steps for completion from district management group that was presented for that. They'll be sending some initial data from GIPS to district management group this week, and then there will be an on-site visit to meet with certain staff, administrators, and board members tentatively the week of February 3rd. And then the entire project is scheduled to be completed by April. Certified staff surveys will be going out tomorrow, January 10th. And just so you know, just as a reminder, these are the non-binding commitment forms that just kind of give us an idea of who's planning on returning and who's planning on retiring or resigning at the end of the school year, just to give us a little bit of a leg up on that. Staffing update, certified staffing, we have hired 2 teachers to fill 6th grade math and ELA at BAR due to large enrollments. There is a psych intern, school psych intern position for next year has been filled. Elementary resource continues to be advertised, and we had 2 teachers at the high school level that resigned over break. So they're being filled with substitutes right now and currently searching for a Spanish and a math teacher there. Currently recruiting the classified vacancies for a crossing guard, 2 paraprofessionals, paraeducator, custodian, 2 technology assistants, and a network and systems administrator. Then we reviewed staff adjustments, and our next meeting is scheduled for February 6th.
All right, thank you very much. 9.4 is the policy committee. Mrs. Albers.
So we met on Monday, January 6th, and there's really no fast way to do policy reports, so just bear with me here. So we, let's see, policies, let me get to my numbers here. Okay, final reading, 8411, reimbursement for lost or damaged items. You went through some of these. 8451, physical restraint and seclusion. 8460, interrogation and searches. That was a delete. 8460, student interviews. 8461, search, seizure, and arrests. And then policies on December 12th that were first read. I don't really think I need to probably go through those because you guys were at that meeting. And then we talked a lot about meeting times, because our meetings, because of spring break and because of the National School Board Conference, we're going to have to move those around. So we'll be meeting on different days for March and April. And then policies for review are 6214, abuse of students by staff, 6214.1, administrative procedures for 6214. This policy had been updated to include the Safe Sport Authorization Act, requiring staff to report incidents or concerns. Dr. Dexter is going to talk to legal counsel and return to the committee for review. 6252, professional boundaries between staff and students. Updates are made to include that expectation of staff is to notify an administrator or Department of Health and Human Services immediately, and then the policy will move forward to the board. 8470, weapons in school. 8470.1, administrative procedures for implementation of 8470. Discussion about armed forces and law enforcement officers' ability to carry on campus, duty versus off-duty, and Dr. Dexter's going to check the statute and return to committee. We had some questions about that, just getting some clarification. If a police officer's there just as a parent, then they cannot carry, but if they're there as an employee, then they can carry. And so we just had some questions about some of that, and so Dr. Dexter is going to get a little more information and get back to us. 8453, student suspension, expulsion, and mandatory reassignment. And then this is a policy we review annually with the district attorney, and the policy will move forward to the board. 8555, suicide awareness. Some minor edits were made to language and legal references, but the suicide team reviews this policy annually as well. That policy is going to move forward to the board. 8560, student automobile use, discussion about fees for parking permits and monitoring. We were wondering if there are fees for parking permits. My daughter didn't seem to think there was a parking permit, and so we were all a little bit confused by that. Do you have a parking permit, Madison? I do, but like no one. Okay, so there we go. Sorry, Dr. Dexter. Yeah, they don't cost anything. Okay. And it's probably what we discussed is probably more about if the car gets in an accident and then they know who the car belongs to. So. And then student leadership councils, minor edits were made, 8610 were made to language. Policy will move forward. 8620, contests for students. This policy will be reviewed at a February policy meeting. 8630, student volunteers and aides. This is in the classroom if a student is a volunteer or an aide for a teacher. Should parents be informed of that? The fact that the student isn't getting credit for that? do grades or GPA need to be assigned to that? Just maybe a little bit more of a dissemination of information to parents kind of came up in discussion. 8670 student publications, minor edits to language and formatting policy will move forward. 8660 field trips discussion about GIPS's responsibility for students and staff traveling overseas for school-sponsored activities. We're going to get some legal counsel on this and then bring it back to the policy committee, but we spent a little bit of time visiting about that. And then statement on physical restraint. Dr. Dexter shared an opposition statement on the proposed legislation which would allow physical restraint by all teachers, which was released by ACLU, the ARC of Nebraska, Voices of Children in Nebraska, and NCSA. Dr. Dexter shared that GIPS had 10 documented incidents, and then when physical restraint is used at GIPS, only trained individuals are allowed to restrain a student. Training involves the de-escalation techniques leading up to the restraint, and training for staff is planned. This is legislation that's been brought by Senator Groney the last couple years, and we've had a lot of discussion about it. And I think as a board, we're not necessarily pro-restraining students. Naming of facilities, 4510. This policy is being reviewed to address the acceptance of gifts in the form of art, objects, memorabilia, and other such items. Dr. Dexter will work with Mrs. Skalberg to draft a policy, and then policies to be worked on, LB 390 MOUs for SROs, try saying that fast, and then the 8,000 policy updates, and then tabled for NDE decision. So we're waiting for NDE to make to update their decision on 5310 transportation and 5310.1 administrative procedures for transportation of students. And at this point, our next meeting is February 10th at 4:30. So sorry about that.
All right, thank you. 9.5 is the Public Relations and Partnership Development Committee. And Mr. Barsness, yes.
We met January 3rd, and we start always with the beat on the street. What are we hearing from the community? Or one of the things that I shared was that with the Early Learning Center and the Shopka building, there was some confusion that I've heard that people think it's the entire building that's going to ELC. So we're working on some of that, just letting the community know. Mrs. Worthington and Jack Shear gave us an update on marketing and communication priorities, which are 6 of them here: attendance, academies, social cues, somewhat live with Grover, and website audit. On the attendance, we got a peek to just a new marketing campaign that is going to go into all our graphics and billboards, things like that. We spent some time just talking about the timing, and the marketing department and everything that has been out there. There's a really intentional, and I've noticed it just being on either social media or radio or whatever it is. We're just creating a more of a presence. So thank you for the time spent there. Academies, you've heard about what's coming up on January 19th. I think I've heard families talk about it, and friends of my daughter and friends of ours. So looking forward to that. I did catch a couple of the Facebook Lives on KRGI, and I think it's a great opportunity just because I usually don't listen to the radio. But now that it pops on my phone, I might not watch it, but I hear it because I'm driving. So I just put it on this seat and I hear it. I guess I could tune into the radio, right? So thank you for doing that. Social cues, if you remember, we're still looking on just the engagement piece and how important that is for us as a district and as board members as well. So Dr. Bros has a couple nights already scheduled. I'm slacking. I need to get mine in, but it's really just bringing families, friends and family that we know that might have some questions, concerns, that they just want to know more and have a time to spend of maybe coffee, a meal, and not a private space, but a more comfy space. There we go. So this is in our efforts to continue to get feedback. The Somewhat Live with Grover, it's an internal live event, and you might have seen the midterm graduation, and you'll continue to see more stuff being broadcasted through the media. Finally, the website audit will continue to work, they'll continue to work on cleaning up the website. And a couple more updates are the scoreboard. The deadline for selling sponsorship is the beginning of March, And we are assured that the scoreboard will be up and running for the first football game. And the IT department has made Jack's life a little bit easier when it comes to live streaming and doing Facebook Lives. As technology develops, they're able to really post and broadcast easier at a higher quality and engage more people. We did spend some time also talking about recognition of the board meetings and how does that look like and how we can continue to make it better. We spent some time on the small groups talking about that, so we'll have a little more as it develops. And the last thing is, as a board, we want to continue to have a greater presence in the community and our communication efforts. So we spent some time talking about ideas of how and what does that look like. Our next meeting will be February 7th at 8 o'clock. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. 9.6 is the governance committee, and I'll take that one. I think we've shared this before with all of the board, but we're kind of doing a book study to get us going on the governance committee. Again, our purpose on this committee is to, take us as a board from great to extra super great. So we spent a lot of time talking about this governance core. It's a really good book. And we are actually going to start developing a statement. I think Ms. Wolf was going to put together something for us to start from, to take a look at. And then we also have the list of items that we want to consider, start looking into, what maybe some changes or different things that we can do. So we'll continue to work on that. And I think our next meeting is the 20th at 6 o'clock. All right. 9.7, the Grand Island Public Schools Foundation report. Oh, okay. Yep, we forgot to have that. I'll let Waxy figure that out. Well, I'm gonna need a copy. Okay, did you have a foundation report or?
Just a little bit. I texted Tracy. Heard they have some new members, Zach Butts, Vicky Duell, and Vince Hernandez, and the scholarship application is open and many students are applying. Madison, have you been applying? Girl. Just making sure.
That's why she has that glazed over look.
Yeah, I know.
All right. 9.8 is the GNSA Legislative Committee report. Mr. Harden.
Thank you, Mrs. Hinkle. Well, a number of things. Of course, the session started Wednesday. 115 bills introduced that day, 63 today, so 178 so far. Only one of note that I can see so far, LB 880, the annual bill to delay certification of state aid in schools. This year's date's May 1st, so that's already been introduced by Senator Groening. All committee chairpersons in the legislative unicameral stays the same. There's 66 carryover bills. Of course, two of note, LB 720, the business incentive bill, and LB 289, the revenue committee's bill that's sure to change. Open Sky had a symposium today concerning state funding and what to do with your resources and how to balance that with the bad downturn in the economy. I believe Governor Ricketts will be in town on the 15th out at the airport. The first GNSA meeting is on Wednesday, the 22nd. The following day is the final day of the 10 days that they can introduce bills. So we'll have all of the last day. Probably the day they'll drop the TOC bill. So let the fun begin. The committee will meet Mondays at 5 o'clock. I also participate in the weekly GNSA Zoom meeting at 2. So everything's up and running like normal. So stay tuned.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
I believe I've sent committee members a calendar invite. I'll double check. I'm glad I said something.
All right, 9.9 is the NASB monthly update, and it's attached. This month, they really focused on a checklist of things that you should be doing, and we were right on target with many of our items. I just wanted to mention also that there is the Advocacy Conference in Washington, D.C., January 31st through the February 3rd, and Mrs. Albers, Mrs. Schetz, and myself will be attending. You're going to, right? And Dr. Grover. So that'll be very interesting. Sounds like we'll do a lot with the Nebraska State School Board Association as far as with meetings and evening meals and so forth. So anxious to see what we hear, and I think it's a pretty interesting time in DC right now. So, all right. Item number 10 is the executive session for the purpose of negotiations in real estate, because it's in the best interest of the public to discuss these matters in closed session. Do I have a motion? Dr. Brose.
I move that we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing negotiations and real estate matters.
Is there a second? Second, Mr. Brown, please vote.
right, motion passes.
Thank you. Agenda item 12, we do not have any approval that is necessary from our executive session. So we move to agenda item 13, which is notification of the upcoming board meetings. And just a reminder that Monday, February 17th, and this is a change, it's on a Monday, February 17th at 5:30. And we are adjourned. Thank you very much.